Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Ashtakayeshva Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishtiki Shanvatam Swakatam Krishna Shravana Kirtana Devantastvaya Vadrani Vidunoti Susatam Srimad Bhagawatam, Canto 3, Chapter 10, Text 6, Tapasa Hi Ekhamanena Vidyaya Chatma Samsthaya Vivriddha Vijnana Balo Punyapad Vayum Sahambhasa Tapasa Hi Edhamanena Vidyaya Chatma Samsthaya Vivriddha Vijnana Balo Punyapad Vayum Sahambhasa Tapasa Hi Edhamanena Vidyaya Chatma Samsthaya Vivriddha Vijnana Balo Punyapad Vayum Sahambhasa Tapasa Hi Edhamanena Vidyaya Chatma Samsthaya Vivriddha Vijnana Balo Punyapad Vayum Sahambhasa
Tapasya Ehamanena Vidyaya Chatma Samsthaya Vivriddha Vijnana Balo Punyapad Vayum Sahambhasa
Tapasya Edamanena Vidyaya Chatma Samsthaya Vivriddha Vijnana Balo Punyapad Vayum Sahambhasa
toward winning tapasa by penance, he certainly edmanena increasing vidyaya by transcendental knowledge, cha also atma self, samstaya situated in the self, vivrita mature, vijnana practical knowledge, balaha power, nyapat drank, vayu the wind, saha ambasa along with the water. Translation: long penance and transcendental knowledge of self-realization had matured Brahma in practical knowledge, and thus he drank the wind completely along with the water. Please repeat: long penance and transcendental knowledge of self-realization and matured Brahma in practical knowledge, and thus he drank the wind completely along with the water. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Lord Brahma's struggle for existence is a personal example of the continued fight between the living entities in the material world and the illusory energy called Maya. Beginning from Brahma down to this age, the living entities are struggling with the forces of material nature. By advanced knowledge in science and transcendental realization, one can try to control the material energy which works against our endeavors, and in the modern age, advanced material scientific knowledge and penance have played very wonderful roles in controlling the powers of the material energy. Such control of the material energy, however, can be most successfully carried out if one is a soul surrendered unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead and carries out his order in the spirit of loving devotional souls. Om Ajnana-timirandhasya jnana-shalakaya chakshurmilitam yena tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukhaṁ karoti vācālam pangum langhāyate yat kripātamaham vande Shri Gurum Dīnatāram. Anchākalpatarubhyashripā sindhubhya eva ca Patidanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kancha Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Tapasa hi edhamanena vidyaya chatma samstaya vividha vijnana balo nyapat vayu saham vasa. Long penance and transcendental knowledge of self-realization have matured Brahma in practical knowledge. Thus, he drank the wind completely along with the water. So this is a conversation between Maitreya Muni and Vidura. We saw in the previous verses how different questions were posed by Maitreya or Vidura to Maitreya. And these are perfect questions and perfect answers. There's a book, right? Actually, I don't think it's a book by Prabhupada because I was looking in Vedalist, it's not there. So
Yeah,
it
it
came
was
up
a
with
conversation.
conversations, right?
Bob Cohen and Sri Prabhupada.
Yes, I remember because I was trying to find on the Vedalist someone I couldn't find, but you're right, it's
Brahmatirtha. Brahmatirtha was a conversation of Brahmatirtha and Sri Prabhupada.
Yeah, he was called Bob Cohen at the time.
Yeah.
where's the voice coming from? It's like invisible Brahma here. Well, thank you, and yes, so perfect questions, perfect answers, and we see in the purport, I think it was verse 3 of this chapter, Prabhupada is mentioning in the purport that if we go and ask any spiritual questions to any layman on the street, then it's just a program for wasting time. It's a very interesting statement he makes. He says it's a program for wasting time, which is very easy to understand because sometimes when I go to the beach and when I come to take shower, and by that area we have this Ishtagoshti going on between the surfers. And the one surfer is going to, they're talking to each other, oh, brother, how was the waves today? And then the other guy goes on saying how he dodged the waves, small waves, and he got big waves, and this and that. So if we go and ask any spiritual question, although they may be very knowledgeable in their field, right? But we ask anything about Atman or self or anything related to spiritual life, you think they're going to have any answers? Even if they give some answers from their imagination, that will be just a mere waste of time. Navadwip Adidev Shama eva hi kevalam. This is the first line. Dharma approach, what is? Dharma swanishtita pumsa vishwaksena kathasveha navadwip Adidev Shama eva hi kevalam. That whatever efforts or endeavors we may do are just a mere waste of time if those efforts are not used in discussing the all-good personality of Godhead, Krishna, Katha, Krishna Katha. And although we may see that in all these verses there's this theme about creation, and one may say, oh, how does it relate to Krishna Katha? Because it is in conjunction with Krishna. Just like Krishna says, Aham sarvasya prabho hatha sarvam pravartate. And I am the source of everything. Right? So even the material, whatever material, just like Prabhupada mentions here in this particular purport too, about the advancement by the material science or material civilization, and he's actually giving credit to the materialists in one sense. If we see the purport here, it says, in the modern age, advanced material scientific knowledge and penance have played very wonderful roles in controlling the powers of the material energy. I don't know what Prabhupada is trying to directly refer to, that how we are controlling the material energy, but from what I understand is that definitely the modern science has played great role in conveniencing, is that the right word? Convenient? Making our life a bit easier. Giving us a lot of all this technology, or even in the medical field, there's so many advancements, and one would be surprised that, just like we had one example in last year, one of our devotees, Sri Krishna Das, he had a heart blockage, almost like 95%. And then they did this, they put something called a stent in his heart, but amazing to know that they did it without even cutting open. Before they used to do this bypass and whatnot, you just cut upon this chest and go and do that, whatever they want to do with the heart. They went through here, this arm or probably this arm, with all that camera inside, and they did that surgery. Kind of amazing, right? So it's a wonderful, progress made by the modern science or in so many different fields. And definitely Prabhupada is giving credit to all these scientists. But then of course at the same time he's saying that this should be connected with Krishna. That's what the last line of the purport says too. And in this verse, if we see that there are two, if anybody remembers, there's these two words here in the last line of this verse. It says, Nyapad Vayu Saham Bhasa. Does anybody remember a verse from Bhagavad Gita? Same verse, Vayu and Ambasa. So here it is, Indriyanam hi charatam yan mano nu vijyate tadasya harati pradnyam vayu nama imam bhasi. So Vayu and Ambasi. So Ambasi means water, and Vayu means, what is Vayu?
Air.
Yes, wind or air. And the translation goes, as a strong wind sweeps away a boat on the water, even one of the roaming senses on which the mind focuses can carry away mind's intelligence. So the same words used here. It says Vayu and Ivambasi, and in our current verse here, we have the same words Vayu and Sahambasa, the same water. And these are the ingredients which are part of the Pancha Mahabhuta. Bhumi Apo Nalo Vayu Kam Mano Buddhir Evacha. And earth, water, fire, air, ether, just like Mataji was mentioning yesterday, that how this matter, after some times it will disintegrate and go back into earth, right? Just like it says also, what is that Christians when they bury the body, they say ashes to ashes, dust to dust, ashes to ashes. So it's all going to go to ashes. But then the amazing quality of Krishna's creation is that although it may go into the ashes, but it's the same Pancha Mahabhut, earth, water, fire, air, ether, it can come back again. You know, when we take this body, it's nothing but a combination of all these 5 elements. Right? So what happens at the death? This body may die, or we may burn it, or the Christians, they bury it, or even the Muslims, I think, they bury the body. But the body, just like Krishna says, the body may disintegrate, but the soul does not disintegrate or die. Right? The body is there, of course, but the soul, and what is the quality of the soul? Krishna says again in Bhagavad Gita, Nainam chindanti shastrani, nainam dahati pavakaha, na chainam klediyantyapo, na shoshanti maruta. So again the word pavaka, that it cannot be moistened by the water. Nainam chindanti, that you cannot chindanti, just like Radesh was stressing this word chindanti, or you cannot destroy the soul by any weapons. Even though you may have the nuclear weapons, they say that the cockroaches, they can survive in a nuclear attack, right? But I think probably that's like a speculation, because I don't think they may, if you put them directly in front of the nuclear bomb, they're not going to survive. But if you put a soul in front of it, definitely will survive, because that's the quality of the soul. It cannot be destroyed. Nainam chindanti shastrani. Shastra means any kind of weapons. Nainam dahati pavaka cannot be, what is the word here? Pavaka is, I think I have a verse here. Pavaka is fire. It cannot be burned by fire. Right? Although the body is burned, when we burn the body is burned. The soul cannot be burned by fire, nor moistened by water, nor withered by the wind. So here, these elements, in this particular verse, it refers to this particular 2 elements, the water and the wind. And if we take the wind, actually, if we see any of these elements, they have both the good effects, right, and the bad effects. Right? The wind can be used to generate wind power. At the same time, the wind can be dangerous if it comes in form of storms. Storm can destroy so many things. And there's a very interesting incident of how powerful a Vayu or wind can be. It's in Ramayana with Hanuman. Jai Hanuman Jnana Guna Sagar, Jai Kapish Tino Loku Janagar, Ramaduta Atulita Balapava, Anjani Putra Pavana Sutana. So Pavana is again wind, right? So he's the son of wind god. And one time when he was lying on the ground, because he was very hungry, and his mother, she went to fetch some fruits, but our Hanumanji couldn't control his hunger, and he was lying and looking at the sun in the sky, and he thought, oh, this is a really nice, attractive, shining fruit. I should go and grab the fruit. And then he leaps towards the sun, and at the same time, Vayu is, because it's the son of Vayu, he's a Vayu Putra, Pavanaputra. So the Vayu is also protecting him by cooling him, because as you go towards the sun, it's going to get more hotter and hotter. But also sun kind of reduces its heat, because he knows it's not an ordinary personality. But what happens when the sun is shining and Hanuman is rushing towards the sun, at the same time, who is coming from the other side? Rahu, right? You know the demon Rahu. Because Rahu is the one who eclipses the sun, or actually eats the sun or the moon, and that's how we have the eclipse. And then at the same time, because Hanuman is coming too for the sun, so what does Hanuman do? He just pushes Rahu, and Rahu is gone far away. And that is just like, what's his name? Our Nam Prabhu was mentioning that story about how he was ready to grab attention of this military personnel to give the book. So similarly, where Hanumanji was very eager to grab the sun. So here, the story goes that Rahu goes to Indra complaining that he's tossed away by Hanumanji, and he says, this is my food, and why have you sent some other demon to take away my food, which is the sun and the moon? And then Indra comes, and Hanumanji couldn't be controlled even by Indra, because Hanuman thinks, so this is also because Indra is so bright, he's a demigod, right? So he's so effulgent. So Hanuman thinks, oh, this is also some very nice fruit, and he chases Indra. And then Indra, with his Vajra thunderbolt, he attacks Hanuman, and Hanuman falls down again on the earth. And then what happens is, Vayu becomes very angry, because Vayu Putra Hanuman, and Pavana Putra Hanuman, and what does Vayu or Pavana do? He sucks up all the air in the universe, and everyone is feeling suffocated. Right? And so much havoc throughout the universe. And we know the similar situation. There's one more incident in Bhagavatam. Anybody remembers? Similar situation that everybody is suffocating because of the tapasya of one personality, Guru Maharaj. So this similar situation, and then everybody comes begging, oh please, please give up your anger. And then Brahmaji comes there too, and Brahma actually, by his touch, he again brings back Hanumanji to life, and Vayu is satisfied, and we know how the story goes that Hanumanji gets so many blessings or boons from different demigods. But the point is that wind or pavana can be very, very difficult to control. And there's another verse, if anybody remembers in Bhagavad Gita, connected to wind, and I'm going to give the hint. It starts with chanchala, which means, what is the meaning of chanchala?
Changing.
Huh?
Changing.
Chanchala is more like turbulent, very, very, not steady. Right? So, anybody remembers the verse? Chanchala hi mana Krishna, something powerful than the wind. Wind is of course powerful, but what is more powerful than the wind? Mind. Chanchala hi mana Krishna, pramati balvadram, tasyaham nigraham manye, vayu eva hi sudushkam. That Arjuna is saying that at a point I can control the wind, but this mind is very difficult to control. So here Brahmaji is dealing with wind, such a strong wind. Because in the previous verse we saw that how Brahma was being the agitation, or there was disturbance by wind and water, and that's how, if we see the previous verse, we will read the exact. It says, as a person, it says here, thereafter Brahma saw that both the lotus on which he was situated and the water on which the lotus was growing were trembling due to a strong violent wind. Jai Shri Panchatattva ki jai. This wind and water, they were kind of causing disturbance in Brahma's meditation in one sense, or his process of creation. And in this verse, what is Brahma doing? Does anybody remember what we read in this verse? What did Brahma do with wind and water?
Drank it.
So he just drank it. It's so simple, in the sense, because, although it may seem all these ingredients are so very powerful, but because he is being empowered by the Lord himself, by the grace of the Lord, by the mercy of the Lord, even all this dushkara, or this difficult task, it may sound the vayu and the ambasa water may be very strong. Just like the quality of the water, it's needed for sustenance, but it can be also a cause of destruction. Right? When we have floods or tsunami, the water can destroy. Power of the water. Or even during the annihilation, there's a pralaya payodi jale, there's pralaya. Whenever there's devastation, then the water also devastates everything. But such vayu and such water is controlled or actually drank by Brahmaji. And we can see that this power comes because of the grace of the Lord, because of the empowerment by the Lord. And we see that even when the devotees, when they bless or empower somebody, we can also do so many things which are miraculous. And we see even in Srila Prabhupada's preaching movement in the West, in the beginning years, he had all these devotees, and most of the crowd we know they were happies or hippies, right? And he gave them such tasks which sounded it couldn't be completed, just like printing books. Right? Prabhupada would translate all this Bhagavatam, and then immediately the devotees, they have to put it from the tape to the what do you call that process? Transcribe, and then print. And devotees, they didn't even have any knowledge of printing books and how you print a book. There's so many things involved in you need paper, you need ink, and you need all these machines and knowledge of all this editing and typography and this and that. But then in the end, because Prabhupada gave them the target, he said, no, by this time it has to be done. And without any, right? You know the details about that?
Actually, Krishna sent a devotee named Roy Ram,
Right.
who had experience in a printing press. So it was kind of interesting.
Yes, because most other devotees, they didn't know nothing about printing the books.
And then you hire Grima, who was an English professor, so he had understanding of the language. So it was kind of far out how it was pieced together.
Right, because that's by the empowerment of the pure devotee, he can empower. Krishna said, Tumara Krishna Dite Pava, Tumara Shakti Yache, that you have that Shakti, you have that potency, you have that power. So this is, we can see the same thing here in this verse, that how Brahma, he just drank this water and wind, which were kind of disturbance in this process of creation. So I'll read the verse once again and we'll take some questions. Actually, I'll read the last one of the purport, very interesting. Prabhupada says here in the last line, the control of material energy, however, can be most successfully carried out if one is a soul surrendered unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead and carries out his order in the spirit of loving transcendental service. So material advancement is not required, but it has to be in conjunction with serving the Lord, or transcendental love and service. So any quick questions or comments? Yes, please.
So Brahma was able to drink the wind and the water because of the powers that he accumulated through tapasya.
Yes, merely by the grace of the Lord, by the blessings of the Lord, by the mercy of the Lord. Because if you see in the last chapter at the end, Krishna is saying that how he just says, you actually, he doesn't even say go study books on how to engineer all this material work. Right? He just says, just fix your mind on me. And that everything will be revealed unto you. The blueprint will be revealed into your into your heart, the knowledge will be revealed. So that's the mercy of the Lord, grace of the Lord. We chant that verse, but Pangum Langayate Girim. What is the first line again?
Mukham karoti vacha.
Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim. Yat Kripa Tamaham Vande Shri Guru Dinataranam. By the grace of the Guru, even the Mukam Karoti, one who is deaf or one who is dumb, he can also start speaking. Kamproti Vachalam. Pangum, and one who's a lame without legs, that person can also climb mountains by the grace of God. So miracles can happen, but our effort is the 50% and the grace is under 50%. So it's a combination of both. 1 inch, 1 inch. 2 inch will bind Krishna. And these two things will, and we can have Krishna's mercy. So anything else? Yes, Guru.
So if we cannot be destroyed, is is that we cannot be burned, cannot be. So if we cannot be destroyed, why we are so fearful?
Because of our conditioning with this material body. Just like if we are driving on the street and somebody comes and hits us, what do we say? Oh, why did you hit me? Right? But did he really hit you? He actually hit your car. Is it not? Similarly, this body is like a car for the soul. Yantra Rudhani Maya. What is that verse? Ishvara Sarva Bhutanam Viddesh Yajana Tishtati Ramayam Sarva Bhutani Yantra Rudhani Maya. This body is just like a machine, like a yantra. And the soul is like a driver. So we falsely identify ourselves with the machine, thinking that we are the machine, and if some damage to the machine, we think it's damage to us. Like we are separate from the machine, or we are separate from the body. The soul is anti-material, right? This word caught my attention. I think it's in Science of Self-Realization, anti-material object, nothing to do with material elements. Is that good? All right, thank you very much. Granthara Srimad Bhagawatam ki jai, Swami Bhaktivinoda ki jai.